Skipoli. We have two things to do with this video today. We need to finish the notes from the other day. So find those notes on infinitive tenses. If you need to pause it to go get that, do that now. So we did the present active, where you just take the second principal part. We did the present passive, where most of the time you just take the E off the end of the second principal part, replace it with an I. There are two exceptions to that. That's conjugations 3-O and 3-I-O. You take the entire ERE and add an I in its place. So it really shortens the infinitive a lot. And then we did we have a chance to do perfect active? I don't think we did. So let's start there. Even if we did, we'll get a little review. So perfect active infinitives. So I'm just trying to make this as clear as possible, give you some instructions on how to build these, because building them is a little harder. But I think when we did the exercise before, present passive was your hardest one. So we've kind of already done that one. But we have a couple things to talk about in the perfect passives and the future actives too. So perfect active is quick and painless, I think. So we're going to use the third principal part. I always abbreviate principal part as PP. So we're going to do third principal part. And all we are going to add is 3 letters, SSE. So it's actually an E-say ending, ISSE, but the I is already on the third principal part, so we don't need to take that off. It's pretty straightforward. So let's look at a quick example. So amo, amare, amawi. I'll stop there just because we want the third principal part. We don't need anything else. So we're going to take amawi and then don't take anything off. Usually I have people take things off. Leave amawi, but add SSE. So you get to amawise. And when you see that ise ending, you know it's an infinitive, so you have to add the to. You also know it's perfect, so you have to add the have. And then whatever it means, to have loved. So there are your instructions and your example. That one's pretty straightforward. I don't think anybody missed this on the exercise we did last week. So let's go perfect passive. So we've got 2 words here. 2 words. And the first word is just the fourth principal part. Use it as is. And the word essay. This doesn't change. It's kind of nice that it never changes, and it makes sense that it never changes. Essay is the infinitive to be. So there's no reason to change it. It's already an infinitive. So let's look at an example. Now let's go back to Old Faithful here. We've got amo, amare, amawi, amatos, and that's to love. And of course, definitions are always given in the present active infinitives. So when we do this, we want to take the fourth principal part, amatos, and we just add the word essay. That's it. But I do need to give you another bit of information. So the ending on the fourth principal part could change. It could be, you have 3 choices. You have us, a, and So you want to match that to the subject. So all you have to know is, lies. We need the plurals. E, I, or a. Okay, so you have 6 choices. Match to the subject in number, which is singular, plural, and gender. So us is masculine singular, a feminine singular, neuter singular, and then the plurals. You have the I ending, which is pronounced E, of course. E is masculine plural, I is spelled AE, of course, is feminine plural, and then the A ending is neuter plural. So it's just matching those two things, number and gender, to the subject, whatever it happens to be, or the topic that you're talking about. That might be easier to think about. So let's go back up here. I forgot to translate this. Amato's essay is to because it has to be an infinitive there, and because of the fourth principal part plus essay, I know it's perfect, so add in the have, but it's passive now, so I have to add in been, and then you add in what it means to have been loved. You see the difference in English? To have loved is the opposite of to have been loved. One of them is happening to the speaker and one is not. So let's move to the future active. It has an extra step in it. Future active, again, we have two words. And we want to take the fourth principal part minus the ending, which is usually just us on the fourth principal part. There are a tiny amount of exceptions, but either way, take the ending off the fourth principal part. And you want to add in you are, and then you want to add the ending us, which is usually us, back onto it. And for the second word, you want to use essay, just like the last one. And that never changes, no matter what. So it has the extra step of sort of splitting the fourth principal part and putting the you are in the middle of it and putting it back together. So let's do an example. I'm going to use this one up here. I need to type it again. Here we go. And let's take the fourth principal part, amatos. We're going to take the ending off of it, so it's amat. Next step, let's add in the you are. So amator, not done yet. We have to add the ending back onto it that we took off. So amatoros is the first word. And then we add the word essay. Always. It's always essay. And then we know that this is future and an infinitive, so we have to add two things here. The future part is about, the infinitive part is to, and the word means love, about to love. So it has a futuristic feeling to it because it's future active. And the ending on the fourth principal part is exactly the same. It has the same idea as up here. So we'll just copy that. So there are all your tenses, but I do have to go through one more thing, and it's not going to be pretty. So we have deponents, deponent verbs, quick review. These are verbs that have only passive forms, but are translated only as active. Okay, so they look passive, but they're translated actively. So because of that, we only have the ones with passive forms on them, sort of. Oh, there's one exception. Okay, never mind. Don't pay attention to that rule. You only have three. So we've got the present infinitive, and I can't say it's passive or it's active. This is a big fight among Latin teachers, so I just don't get in on it. So the present infinitive is just the second principal part. So you don't have to do anything to it. It's done for you. You will notice it looks like the present passive forms from a regular verb. It's going to end in an I. Maybe it's an ERI, ARI, just an I, or an IRI. Okay? But either way, ends in an I. So the second principal part, let's use conor, conari, conatos sum, and that means to try. So the present infinitive is just The second principal part, don't do anything to it. It means to try. So this looks passive. If it were a regular verb, it would be passive, but it's a deponent verb. So it just looks passive, but it's translated actively. So you don't want to put any form of be in there, like to be tried. Doesn't sound right. So leave it as active in English. Passive in Latin, English in Latin. Active in English is what I meant. All right, let's do the perfect infinitive. Again, I can't say whether it is active or passive because they look passive, but they're translated actively, and Latin teachers fight over which one they actually are. I don't get in on the fight because let's just say they're neither one or both. It doesn't matter. But anyway, that's my little rant. All right, so the perfect infinitive. It is, let's see, it is the third principal part of a deponent verb, which actually looks a little bit different. I'll talk about that when I get to my example here. Third principal part minus the word sum, the whole word. And you're just going to change that word to esse. Change it to the infinitive form of sum. So it's going to look like this if we use conor again. We're going to use the third principal part, conatus sum, but we're going to take off the sum, so we're just left conatus, but we're not done. This has to be a two-word one, conatus esse, and now we're done. But let's translate this. So conatus esse looks passive, but it's translated actively. So it's an infinitive, we put two. It's perfect, so we put have. And it means to try. So to have tried. We don't say to have tried. Make it sound right in English and you'll be fine. And I'm going to copy this up here. The ending on that first word uses that same concept of matching to whatever you're talking about in number and gender. Let's do the last one for deponents. This is the future infinitive. So this one, it looks just like the future active. The instructions are generally the same, but the instructions don't actually look exactly the same because the dictionary entries are different from a regular verb to a deponent verb. So we're going to use the third principal part, which is conatus sum, and we'll get to our example in a second. And we need to first change the first word, conatus. So we're going to take the third principal part, first word. Let's take off the ending, minus the ending, which is us. You're going to add the UR, and then you're going to add the same ending back onto it. Or, well, if you need to change the ending, make it match in number and gender. So that was confusing. Add the ending back onto it. And then for the second word, you want to change sum, well, not sum, to esse. Okay. So let's look at that. There we go. So I've got, let's do that. Third principal part, conatus sum. And then I'm going to take just the first word and conatus. Take the ending off. Whoops. So I have conat. Add the UR. Conatur. Not done. Conaturos. Still not done. So if you go back to the beginning, your third principal part has two words. The second word is sum. We're going to change that sum to an esse, and we're done. Conaturos. Use our new first word plus esse. And let's see if we can't translate here. So we've got a future, so future infinitive. So let's do about. It's an infinitive, so put to, and it means try. So there's your